Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm continuing with reading my Bible. I'm trying to do this every day as much as I can, and it's going to be part of a playlist because this is still the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, so I'm continuing from Genesis chapter 27. Yesterday, excuse me, yesterday I read Genesis 26 and I uploaded it. Today I'm reading Genesis 27. So basically, I read and I react if there is any need to react, or I just let it go and just upload it because the most important thing for me is reading the Bible. All right, so let's go. Genesis 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could no longer see, he called for Esau, his older son, and said to him, "My son." "Here I am," he answered. Isaac said, "I am now an old man and don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, your quiver and bow, and get out to the open country to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die." Now Rebekah was listening, and Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau left for the open country to hunt game and bring it back, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Look, I overheard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me some game and prepare some tasty food to eat, so that I may give you my blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die.' Now, my son, listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so that I can prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he likes it. Then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he dies." Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, while I have smooth skin. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be fleeking him and would bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." His mother said to him, "My son, let the curse fall upon me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me." Let me just react to this. This has been verses 1 to 13 that I have read. It's very, I think, the point that I want to react to is the fact that what Jacob considered wrong was not necessarily the fact that he was about to take his brother's blessing. He didn't mind that fact. He didn't mind that fact. What he considered a problem was that he was going to be caught by his father. And I think this is something that I think is interesting, because sometimes when we are in the wrong, we are not necessarily having a problem with the wrong that we're doing. Like, we don't have a problem with what we're doing that is bad, but we have a problem that somebody might catch us doing it, or maybe we can be doing it and maybe be punished for it, not necessarily the import of what we're about to do. And I think this is a point to show that at this point, Jacob was, I don't want to use the word that is not right, but he didn't care much anyway. He didn't have so much love in his heart for his brother. I think it was for him, what can I get? It was a take and take situation for him. And I think this is the part where I didn't like about Isaac and Rebecca. The fact that the children were able to divide them, in the sense that Isaac chose Esau to bless, which may be understandable because he's the first son, but Rebecca chose Jacob for reasons that are not stated. But I think it's also important to note that in the previous chapter, the last verse said that Esau had gone to marry people from where they lived, the foreigners, and it broke his parents' heart. So I can understand why Rebecca will naturally choose to have Jacob blessed instead of Esau. But I don't know the full story around that, but I think it's something worthy of note. Not to be afraid you will get caught. Instead, don't do the wrong. Be afraid that you are doing wrong. I think that's the most important thing. So I continue for verse 14. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother and said, and she prepared some tasty food just the way his father liked it. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her oldest son, which she had in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat skins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the tasty food and the bread she had made. He went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, my son," he answered. "Who is it?" Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave me success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he proceeded to bless him. "Are you really my son, Esau?" he asked. "I am," he replied. Then he said, "My son, bring me some of your game to eat, so that I may give you my blessing." Jacob brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought some wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come here, my son, and kiss me." So he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, so I will react from verse 14 to 27. A lot is happening here, and for me, I just think that there were red flags in quotes, because Isaac kept asking, "Are you sure this is Esau? This sounds like the voice of Jacob." And I remember one of the sermons I listened a while ago, the preacher was saying that there's no how that Isaac won't know that this was not Esau. That because how do you know someone? Is it not their voice? So what is with the hair and the smell? But I wouldn't know. I just think this is a situation of when something has to happen, because the signs were there. There's no how I think that Jacob wouldn't have been caught. I think maybe God just wanted to just show Jacob mercy, because your voice will give you away. And it wasn't just if the father doubted to the very end. He said, "Come, let me touch you." Then he touched the hair, the skin that the mother had placed on his body. It was hairy. I said, "Okay." And he now said, "Come closer and give me the food." Then when he was bringing the food, he smelled him, and he smelled like Esau because he was dressed like Esau. And he said, "Okay." And then he proceeded to bless him. But I think also that if Jacob didn't go through this route, I also think that he would have received the blessing one way or the other. Remember that the prophecy that went ahead of Esau and Jacob was that the younger would rule the older. So I think yes. So when Jacob brought out his hand first, and the tied red on it, was it Jacob? Yeah. And then he entered inside, and then Esau came out. Something like that. I think that's the best story. I hope I'm getting it right. I'm not mixing it up. So they started battling. The prophecy about their bed was that they would battle or something like that. And Jacob was kind of the chosen one. I don't know the reason. Maybe it's destiny. But what I find interesting here is the way he went about it. First, he exchanged the birthright for he made his brother exchange his firstborn birthright for a mess of pottage, if you remember the story. Now he's taking his father's blessing. And I think that seems awful to me, because that's mean. Like, why will you do that to your brother? Being the first son in those days, I don't know the full implication right now, But then it must have been a big deal because you are taking the inheritance of your father. Remember that during Abraham's time, God had to clear the path for Isaac, send Ishmael away so that Isaac can comfortably take the inheritance of Abraham and pass it down to the next generation. And now, during the time of Esau or Jacob, it has to be one person. But I'm thinking, is it not possible that it would have been two people? Maybe Isaac could have prayed and said, God, I bring my two sons to you. I bind them together in love and I give them the inheritance that I'm shared together. Because it must have been, like, I like to think of myself like I have two sons and I have to choose one over the other because that's technically what is happening here. It feels hurtful, but I don't know. Like, I can't say anything rather than what I'm reading, but this is my reaction to it. So let's continue to verse 27. So when so he went to him and kissed him. When Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he blessed him and said, Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. This is a deep blessing. I think for me, what I take out from this blessing is the fact that we don't take blessings seriously these days. Maybe because of the way the world is, we just feel that it doesn't work anyway. Like all these blessings, like we don't see it manifesting in real time, so we don't take it seriously. We like some people will be like, who blessing help? But I like the fact that they took blessings very seriously. They took the father's blessings very seriously, and it kind of manifested in their life. And me personally, I take my parents' blessings seriously. Like if I want to travel or go somewhere, I like to get the blessings of my parents because for some reason I feel like it's waiting because it goes out like they're like you're covering and they are sending you forth in the name of God and with all the blessings that come with it. I think it's a big deal. So let's continue in verse 13. After Isaac finished blessing him and Jacob had secretly left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some tasty food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, My father, please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing. His father Isaac asked him, Who are you? I am your son, he answered, your firstborn Esau. Isaac trembled violently and said, Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just because you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed. This verse 33, it shows that the blessing was such a big deal because Isaac was afraid that he had made a mistake. He says he trembled violently because it's just one blessing for the firstborn son and it's gone. And it was not given to the right person, technically. It was given to someone else, and he was really afraid. I felt bad for Isaac for a minute. So let's continue verse 34. When Esau heard his father's word, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, Bless me too, my father. But he said, Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessings. Esau said, Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright and now he's taking my blessing. Then he said, Haven't you reserved any blessings for me? I felt for Esau at this point because I don't know whether Esau is a bad person at this point, whether he's a mean person. The only negative thing we've heard about him is that he married women from the country that did evil and caused like distress to his parents. So this part I felt a little bad for him because this is something that all your life you're expecting that at towards the end of your father's life that he will pass the blessing and the inheritance to you. So you've lived all your life in this full expectation, and all of a sudden you are swindled by it. It's almost like just a microsecond, just a minute, and things change. And I can understand Esau's pain. I can't understand it fully, but I can imagine how hot he is at this point. So Isaac answered Esau in 37. I have made him lord over you, and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son? This is even hard because Isaac is telling Esau the truth. You are now his servant, pretty much. Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father. Then Esau wept aloud. His father Isaac answered him, your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness. Kai, this is not a blessing. Away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck. I think this is like a consolation, because saying that someone's blessing dwelling will be far from earth's richness and away from the dew of heaven, and they will live by sword and they will serve their brother, is not a blessing. I think the compensation here is that when you grow restless, when you're tired, when you're exhausted, you will throw his yoke from off your neck. So I think at some point Esau is able to get deliverance from being ruled over by Jacob. So 41, Esau held a grudge against Jacob. Understandably, right? Because of the blessing his father had given him, he said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob. When Rebekah was told what her older son had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, your brother Esau is planning to avenge himself by killing you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry with you and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day? I think she really knows that it will end in blood, because Jacob will not take the battle leniently. Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm disgusted with living because of these Hittite women. If Jacob takes a wife from among the women of this land, from Hittite women like this, my life will not be worth living. This is the end of the reading. I think this last verse is also like the argument she presented to Isaac so that Jacob can have his blessing to live, because in those days they lived together. I think also another point I want to talk about is that it's the part that Esau held a grudge for, is the fact that Jacob listens to his mom. I think that's the blessing. I think that's number one blessing of Jacob. The fact that he listens to his mother. When his mother asked him to bring the stuff, let me do it for you, he listened and he obeyed, and the mother did it for him and he got the blessing. And now he's about to listen again to save his life. So his mother was key to his blessing. Women power, yeah. Even though I don't really think it was best that she picked sides, because both of them had children. But anyway, that's the reading for today. Hopefully we continue tomorrow. So listen, be blessed, and God bless you. Ciao.